You're watching RT from Moscow. Just one story dominating our news tonight. Russia's worst ever sporting tragedy. An aircraft carrying the triple champion Russian ice hockey team Lokomotiv Yaroslavl crashed in flames earlier this evening near the runway in their home city, which is 270 kilometers northeast of Moscow. Only 2 people are thought to have survived from among the 45 who were on board that stricken plane at the time. RT's Anissa now is near the crash site, bringing us up to date with the latest as she gets the information. And throughout the evening, Anissa, more details have been coming through, haven't they? We're getting more accounts now from the people who saw that plane go down. What have they been saying?
They are, Yaroslavl, in pure shock this evening as this horrible news unraveled throughout the late day that 43 people, in fact, were killed on board that flight. 2 of them survived. We're hearing that one of them is in very critical condition. He's a member of the Russian national ice hockey team, and we heard conflicting reports that perhaps he had died, so a little bit of hope.
After the plane took off, I heard a noise like 2 cars colliding. Several seconds later, we heard another bang. Then the plane started leaning to the right. After we heard the second bang, the plane suddenly dived and hit the ground. I didn't see it hit the ground, but we saw that its tail broke off. The plane broke in 2.
We heard a plane take off, so we told our granddaughter, "Look, there's going to be an aeroplane." Then I heard a bang and my daughter told me, "Mom, it's falling down to the side." Then came the flames and the smoke and we wanted to run away, but we didn't know where to run. Then we went to the river and saw the plane.
Lokomotiv is my home team. We supported it. We loved this team and we were shocked when we found out. We went to all of their games, knew all of them by name. It's very difficult.
Now, emergency crews working well into the night here to try to recover any remaining bodies. So far, 35 of them have been found in the first couple of hours after the accident. In fact, very quickly, a lot of those bodies were found. It has to be said, though, within the last 2 hours or so, that number hasn't gone up, which, of course, is a scary thing. We talked to investigators. They hope that by dawn, they'll be able to find the rest of those bodies. It's dark, it's cold. Most of that plane is in the water, so this is a very tough situation for the men out here trying to find the rest of those bodies. We know that specialists are coming in from Moscow with lights and other equipment to try to help the situation, but it's going to be a long night searching for the rest of those bodies here in Yaroslavl.
And this, people were taking pictures very early on at the scene. We saw them on YouTube. We saw the plane basically in flames in a couple of pieces in the Volga River there. Can you just paint a picture for us what happened? The various stories coming through. We had an eyewitness earlier on saying the plane broke in 2. We're hearing other official reports saying the plane broke in 3. 2 of those parts of the fuselage ended up in the river. What more do we know about what actually happened physically there, and how close is the river to that airport?
The airport is about 1 kilometer from where I'm standing in the crash site just behind me here, so very close. The river, it's a big river. Like I said, most of the plane in that river, and that's what the search effort is. It's about the water. It's about getting down under there and trying to find these bodies. Very different stories about how that happened. You heard from those witnesses there. The most common one we're hearing now, the most repeated, is that there was some kind of difficulty gaining altitude and that the plane crashed into some kind of antenna and then fell into the river. We're hearing very different stories about whether it was tilting on its right, on its left, and the latest version that we're hearing, the report that I've heard, is that the air traffic controllers who were on the ground, it's reported, are saying that from what they saw, it looked like the pilot could have actually begun his takeoff too late, so overrun the runway in the sense on takeoff. So that's another thing. Again, investigators looking very much into this. We can confirm, though, that the fleet of the Yak-42 has been grounded. It's very vague. We don't know for how long, or if that is just until the investigation is completed and they figure out what exactly went wrong. There's going to be a big debate on whether or not these old Soviet planes should be flying with this tragedy happening, but we do know, we can confirm that Yak-42s will not be flying until investigators find out what exactly happened.
Of course, in this, there are nearly 100 still in service. I mean, what do we know about the Yak-42 fleet? it depends who you talk to. I spoke to one pilot earlier on saying these planes, they're pretty robust. OK, they are an old model, they haven't been built for a while, but if they're serviced OK, they're pretty near enough airworthy. That's what you'll get any serviceman talking to you. In fact, you know, in the Army or the Navy, they'll say the equipment that they've got, if it's serviced properly, is good. It's better than maybe some new stuff. What do we know about the Yak-42 as a machine?
Well, that's what I've heard. If you speak to any experts, what they'll say is any plane can really run for decades if it's kept up well. And I think what investigators are going to be looking into is, first of all, they're investigating the airline that was in charge of this flight, first of all, for any checks that might have been missed. But in general, like I said, there's a big debate on whether or not these old planes should be flying. And this is just going to continue with this latest tragedy. We know that it's a very safe plane. The experts we've spoken to say that if it's kept up well, it can certainly still be flying, and it might not very well be the actual plane that was the cause of the accident. Human factor is always something that is looked into when these accidents occur.
Of course, almost much more importantly tonight, though, the human side of this, the human toll of it. Our thoughts with the family and the friends of those poor souls that have perished. And there's been a huge turnout tonight in Yaroslavl as well, hasn't there?
It is. It's quite a sight. Hundreds, if not thousands of people out on the streets of the center of the city in their Yaroslavl Lokomotiv scarves and carrying candles, flowers, screaming, "We love you, we'll miss you." And this is just an awful tragedy, and you can feel that on the streets of Yaroslavl this evening. We're going to try to make our way into the center within the next couple of hours and see what's happening. But from what we're seeing and the pictures that we've been filming there, just hundreds, if not thousands of people destroyed here in Yaroslavl by this tragedy, which, by the way, is certainly not just a Russian tragedy. We know several embassies have confirmed, including the Swedish, the Slovakian, as well as the Czech Republic, that their nationals were on that flight. And the head coach, a Canadian, Brad McCrimmon, on that plane 52, he is confirmed to have died as well.
And of course, such a double blow here, such a tragedy. These all young men too.
Yeah, it's an awful thing.
Memorials and tributes have been pouring in. Just can you outline for people maybe just tuning into us who don't quite get how important ice hockey is here in Russia? You know, how important was a team like this, first of all, to its home city Yaroslavl, but also, you know, to the ice hockey fans across Russia? How important is ice hockey in the country?
Well, ice hockey, as far as I understand it from the people I've been speaking to, was huge in Soviet times, and the Soviet teams were excellent, and it kind of got lost in the 90s during all of that turbulence, and just recently it's become really big again, so it's really a piece of national pride. And the people we've been speaking to said, I have to admit, I'm not a big follower of Russian ice hockey, but the people we've spoken to, the fans, were really proud of this team. They were apparently a very good team, and the fact that the entire team almost was wiped out in this one tragedy is just such a harsh blow to Yaroslavl and to sport. It is, like you said, Russian sports history greatest tragedy, and this is what I think it looks like this is going to go down in history for, just being just an awful hit to the country's sport and to its people. Anissa, now I thank you for bringing us up to date with what you know at the scene there.